The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Elite Shotgun. They stand behind you. And is fueled by Fiocchi.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast. Coming in hot with everything you want to hear about sporting clays.
Ben Hustway.
Each short blind person would have to fight 14 kangaroos.
Let's get Anthony on the phone.
You're making a big mistake, okay?
Yeah. We're talking Gianna Santo tonight.
Well, I have something, but I don't know how much everyone's going to like it.
I was not ready for that.
With your hosts, Jason Rambo.
You just didn't want my wife to edit something else you did.
And Sean Alley.
You gotta keep it PG-13, man.
Often imitated, but never duplicated. It's the Dead Pair Podcast.
The Dead Pair.
And now, it's showtime.
Welcome back, everyone. What's up, Mr. Large and in Charge?
Well, Jason, all kinds of stuff happening, really. I mean, busy at work as usual. Looking forward to planning for nationals, trying to get all that stuff lined up. And hopefully I can find some time to go out and practice before I head down there to Texas. How about you?
Well, I certainly hope so. And if you got any questions about what you should do other than you should have been shooting all along, we have none other than Mr. RAD Chad Roberts himself with us. What's up, Chad?
Hey, guys. How are you doing today?
Doing really good, Chad. Man, it's been a while. How's things been doing for you?
I finally got off the road from being over there. And then I came home and then immediately went up to Northern California for a week and caught up there. And then, I got home, and now that I'm home, everybody that I usually see here wanted lessons. So it's been pretty jam-packed. Plus, I've been getting into a little bit more training since I got some stuff I've been working on.
Well, Hey, listen, everybody's gearing up and training for the Nationals. But speaking of tournaments, Sean, we've got a really big tourney talk to get to. You want to get started on that?
Yeah, Casey definitely gave us a big list. So everybody sit tight here. Let me try to get through all this.
It's Tourney Talk. Brought to you by Score Chaser.
All right, the 2025 U.S. Grand Prix FITASC at Providence Hill will open on October 1st. This shoot will be held June 19th through the 22nd. And the Big Seafood Blast at M&M will be held April 24th through the 27th. And the New Jersey State North American FITASC will also be held at M&M May 15th through the 18th. Registration for both of these shoots will be opening very soon. The 2025 Southeast Regional at Backwoods Quail Club will be held October 1st through 5th. And registration is scheduled to open October 1st, so that's all coming very soon. Also, got some more updates. Ducks Unlimited Las Vegas Continental is open for registration. The shoot will be held at Clark County Shooting Complex. That's March 12th through the 16th. Then the South Carolina State at Hermitage Sporting Grounds is open. This shoot will be held September 18th through the 21st. Then South Central Regional at Covey Rise will be held September 10th through the 14th. And registration will open Friday, September 13th. So it should be open by the time you guys hear this. Ducks Unlimited Eastern Continental at Cross Creek Clays will be held April 10th through the 13th. Registration will also open on September 13th. I'm sorry. So a lot of updates, a lot of shoots, and I know Casey's going to get more coming here, guys. So bear with us, and we'll get back to you shortly.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of all that, Chad, you and I have had a lot of conversations about this, and putting out all of this, money ahead of time for registration, it's a lot. I mean, you can rack up easy if you're going to travel the circuit. You can wrap up $5,000 or $6,000 in just in deposits.
And outside that, if you do need a golf cart and you at these places that are not run by dealer where you're separate, you have to pay all of the golf cart fees up front. And, not only that, if you're doing Airbnbs, especially like going to the Nationals, you got to get on them. Otherwise they start disappearing. And flights too, it's not right now with the way the economy is, flights are not super cheap. You can find some deals out there, but you have to be real diligent and just stay on top of it. It's funny, man. My United is going through the roof, and it's, I see flights I'm going to be taking next year. So what I always tell people, and they just, and I don't know if they're just not getting it or whatever, these shoots are filling up almost immediately. And, I always get the students or a person that wants to start shooting bigger shoots. They always say, hey, I want to go to the shoot. I'm like, it's too late. It's just because you want to go 2 months before the shoot or 4 months before the shoot, you're too late. Some people can get away with it and just sign up if they have lots of time on their hands so they can get moved around and earlier in the week or whatever at some of these bigger shoots. But, if you don't have the vacation time and stuff and you're banking on getting out there on the weekend, it's super difficult. Some people get away with it, but I see majority don't. So just be on top of it. If you want to go to this stuff, talk to your coaches or whoever you travel with or who does travel in your area and ask them, when's a good time I should start signing up. And for me, I've already signed up for 6 events next year. I'm already ready to go. So.
Yep. That's a lot of money to put out for something that's 10, 12 months ahead of time, or more.
It's not cheap.
No, it's not. I think registration opens for nationals like 2 weeks after nationals, I think.
You can sign up if you fill out the paperwork there.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, and it keeps getting worse and worse, especially with the big blast shoots like the Jack Links and all these other ones. I mean, it's like crazy. The first week, the Northeast Regional next year for Cardinal, I think, God, the first day we had like 300 signups, didn't we, Jason? Something like that. Yeah,
it's crazy.
What I think is going to happen, guys, is I got a feeling some of these smaller, shoots that people stop going to so they can go to the regionals will start filling up, and it's gonna make those shoots a lot better, and it's gonna make it fun. State shoots are getting bigger, and in all these different states, and some of these, one day, I don't know what you'd call them. I guess a big blast, but just a named event, the Hardy's Classic or whatever they got, is starting to get popular again.
Well, I'm super excited because I don't know if you saw registration or not, Sean, but none other than Mr. RAD Chad himself's coming down to the Dead Pair Blast, so that ought to be a lot of fun. So.
Oh, nice. Nothing wrong with palm trees in December.
No, I have them here all year round.
Oh yeah, never mind. Screw both of you guys, man.
When you're in snow up there, Sean, Jason and I are pretty much in flip flops and hanging out and talking on the phone and saying,
I'll send you both video of me snow plowing the driveway in January so that you can remember what that's like, Jason.
As long as it's on your new tractor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Chad, we got some questions for the coaches. We thought it'd be fun. We'd have you on for a whole episode and kind of go through these questions. And then, there's a lot of hot topics right now. One of them is the whole debacle with FITASC, which Sean and I were actually just on the phone earlier with Michael Hampton Jr. We've got a whole episode coming out next week on that. Not only the NSCA stance, but they were informing us by the time you guys hear this, we'll already have the information, but they're informing us that they're calling over and having a discussion with the FITASC organization. And then the EC is going to meet on it. The executive council is supposed to meet and make, some good rash decisions on what to do and how to move forward. So hopefully we'll get all that, here quickly before nationals, obviously, because I'm sure a lot of people are concerned about it. But Chad, just give us your opinion, and it's nothing more than an opinion. It's not an official statement or anything, but what do you think? Let's start with this. What do you think caused this? And then by taking the action they did, what do you think they're trying to do? What's your read on it?
I don't know much about it. I talked to some people in Europe, and I've talked to some people in Australia and stuff like that. But, if you go to other countries, which I haven't been to yet, so I have not shot overseas. But what I understand is you either shoot, kind of like a CPSA type of a format, English sporting, or you shoot a FITASC type of event. And they're not mixed. They're one or the other. And it's just that's the way it's always been, from what I understand. I heard that UK and US are about the only ones that do super sporting. They've been doing it for a long time now. But you go down to Australia, and I think they have a few events a year that are actually sporting style or English sporting. Everything else is based on FITASC. I know a lot of clubs, that's even how they practice or let people train, is you're shooting layouts. And I talked to, Brent Irons about it, and, that's how they practice. They'll go out, and when they shoot a tournament, it's in a FITASC format, and they shoot 25 targets in the morning, take a break, 25 targets right after, late morning and then lunch and then 25 targets for a 75 target day, and I had the Australians here in California, and they were shooting 150 a day and just getting wrecked, by how much shooting they do a day here. And that's just standard for us. We do all those events, right? So I think, I'm gone on a limb. There's probably some events out there that are running a different format and using some referees possibly. And, the Federation may or may not be using, and that's part of the world is all FITASC, and they're doing something different and, kind of upset the powers that be. And they're trying to, and they're probably in their frame of mind, they're trying to protect the game, which is kind of hilarious because sporting, super sport, in my opinion, it does not resemble in any way FITASC. It's not even close in the same, except there's a couple it's not even the machines because we shoot more machines than FITASC. So I guess if you were doing a new style layout on everything, but,
I never did understand that portion of their stance. I just didn't.
No, and I didn't either. And, and I'm not picking sides. I think there's some people that are such hardcore FITASC people that they wish everything was FITASC. And there are, every shooter in the states that I know that's ever been asked about FITASC, they say it's the F1 of sporting clays. It's the top enchilada, it's the top tier. And, if they feel it's eroding because of other concepts, then, what says that they don't come after AFS next because of the low gun, or whatever, so it just kind of, it was kind of sad. I don't like it personally because, I like you guys want to see people shoot guns, and I want to see, I live in a state where it's eroding daily because of the cost. And, try to put a range in California right now, you won't get it done unless you know somebody, and there's nobody to know anymore in politics here that will help you. So, I think it's not good from their standpoint. It makes them look bad, and it makes our sport look stupid in a way, because everybody has to get involved with something that shouldn't be a big deal.
And Chad, if I can interrupt here, the weird thing that as I read into it, the way that they're going to enforce this, they're actually punishing the referees, instead of like a club or another organization, because they're basically saying if you're a referee at a FITASC event and they're doing super sporting, you could potentially lose your accreditation or your license. Yeah. So it's like, that's that's really kind of a petty thing to do. Especially we know how hard it is sometimes to get enough FITASC referees for an event.
You guys weren't around back in 2017 shooting registered targets, I don't think, but we were. Okay, so if you remember far enough back, we had World Cups here, that were linked to your overall placing in the world, and there are people that chase World Cup points in just FITASC, and we used to have a few events here in the States that the Grand Prix and the World Cups that would the points, I believe, would help you in that ranking. And we don't even have those anymore, I believe. I know we have the Grand Slam series, and there's I think might be some Grand Prix, but I don't know if that carries over to anything at the FITASC World Cup level. I'm not that part. I don't chase that stuff, so I don't know. I'm probably not. I shouldn't even said anything like that because I don't actually know. But it just seems like we pulled away from that to a point where it went to the Grand Slams, when FITASC tried to raise the prices here in the United States. So, at the NSCA. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I could, if they want to play ball, then we lose one of those side events at an event that FITASC is at. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think it's pretty sad. I want to shoot guns. I want to shoot blow up plays, so, and I don't care how we do it. I'm
just looking at it for if I was a club manager or running a club or whatever, I think the easy button for me would just to be bigger super sporting events, or bigger AFS events or whatever. there's a million things you can do for side events. I mean, I heard they were, 5-stand was next on the list, or compact, or whatever they want to call it over there. But I don't know. I think I don't know. All I can do is speculate.
It's definitely, yeah, you can't speculate. Plus, it's the politics of shooting. And I guess what I would tell your listeners that are listening out there that don't know one way or the other, don't worry about it. Go out and shoot your gun. Shoot the events that are available to you. I would stay as far away from the underbelly of any type of industry or sport, because you can see some pretty ugly things if you dig deep enough with any sport. So stay on the surface, go shoot your gun, have a good time.
Right.
If they offer the event, don't not do it just because you're mad at something they did. If they offer fee tests, don't boycott it. Because then you're hurting the clubs, that are going to run that event if they choose to, or whatever. You should support your club, shoot everything as possible if you can afford it.
Absolutely.
So that's really where I stand with it.
Sean, let's get to some of these questions for the coaches. You got a hot one over there?
Yeah. All right. So Chad, I'm going to start off easy for you. And then we'll work up to the paragraph sized ones here, because I've got quite a few. All right. Thank you guys for all the hard work you put in your podcast. I enjoy listening to all these episodes, blah, 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 blah. This might sound really basic.
Blah, 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 blah.
Well, it's just, he's giving background. I don't need to talk about all that stuff. This might sound really basic, but I'd like to know how often or after how many rounds your guests clean their guns. Now, Chad, before you answer that, I'd like you to break it down into two parts for our listeners. Number one, there's cleaning your gun, where you break it completely down, you swab the barrels, and you do all that. But then there's also, I think, another area like what you should do immediately after a shoot before you pack up and go home. So go ahead and tell us all about that.
There's actually three things that happen.
There you go. See, even better. There's three things.
All right. The first way is if you transport your gun in a case, in a greenie case or whatever that the gun comes with, and you're taking it apart for transport purposes, you're going to take it apart. And, especially if you have a over under, you're going to pull the barrel off and everything. Personally, wipe it down. Use some Q-Max or whatever you feel is cool for lube, and wipe anything where your hands touch. We're touching the barrels, we're grabbing the guns, we're grabbing the receivers. There's fouling, BB, pellets that come out of shells could be flopping around. There could be unspent powder. It can be a mess. It can cause corrosion, and it can cause some, stickiness in the receiver and things. So personally, just wipe it down. And then put it in a case, you're good to go. That's the first and foremost. I think that should be everybody's duty, or should be their duty, but that's the proper way of at least doing that. The second part of that, I guess, would say is people go to the next step, and they run a swab through the barrels, they wipe down the everything, and they take the gun apart. And so when they pull it out, it's ready to go clean, and they can relube it and put some grease on it, put together and go. I think that's the second one where you'll see guys. The other option, actually, the second one is really my buddy Uncle Lenny, and Jason, you've seen it.
Oh boy.
He gets his Craig off service every year. We go to the Nationals, and they say it's one of the cleanest Craig offs they've ever worked on, to the point where he really doesn't need to bring it into service, but he gets everything replaced in it every year. This man's got drills and things and stuff in little packages and bags and patches and this and that. And I will tell you, this man puts down at least 1,000 rounds a week, 750 to 1,000 rounds, if not more. And this is no joke. This is what the guy does. He loves these. He just gets it on. And I will tell you, after every time we've ever shot, he will sit in the parking lot and do that. Or if he gets kicked out, he'll do it at home once he gets home. His gun, when he comes back out to shoot, looks like a brand new gun. Outside of any wear marks from his hands and stuff on the bluing and things like that. Literally, his gun is showroom quality clean when it comes out when he goes shoot. So there are those guys that do that, take the chokes out every time, they clean them and blah blah blah, and they go through and they lube everything and they just get nuts. And then there's the Zach Hinbaums of the world. They shoot their gun and put it in the bag and go. they may pull it apart once every, once in a great while, and put some new grease on, wipe it off, put some new grease, but they shoot their guns. I've seen, stacks of fouling on top of his, almost like it's a rite of passage to see how big of, clumps of fouling he can get on top of his porting on his barrels. And, you touch it or peel it off. He's like, what are you doing? That's my mountain of, coolness. I don't know, I've seen guys, and you'll see guys, I've shot Brandon's gun and the dude loves that gun. Like it's probably more than anything in this world, but he shoots the crap out of it. And I don't see him touching it. But that doesn't mean they're not wiped down. So where do I sit? I sit in the first one. I wipe mine down and I put it in the case after I wipe it down, and that's it. And then probably about every 500 rounds, I'll put new grease on it if I take it apart. And then just before I go to any big shoot, I completely go through the whole gun and have it spotless, ready to rock and roll. And then I go through that process again. So, well,
the only thing I think I would add to that is if you are shooting an auto, those things need a little bit more attention than an over under. I mean, they've got to be, especially the action and all that kind of stuff's got to be a lot cleaner, right? So,
yeah, I mean, there are lubes out there that clean as they lube and make them work. But then again, I have a friend, a lot of people know who he is. He's California state champion. He's been in the Hall of Fame and stuff, is Justin Fox, if you know. That kid shot an auto for years. And I mean, he shot it so much his chokes, you couldn't get his chokes out of his barrel. And he would shoot it till it stopped working. And then he would just put bigger loads in the gun. And he would get to the point where he would shoot like 1 in an 8, 1300, the biggest cannons he could find, double A's, whatever. And he would only go and get it cleaned or fixed or lubed once those stopped cycling.
Wow.
Jeez.
Well, before we move on to the next question, the one thing I will add is we had Jim Eister on. If you get in the Wayback Wagon, I mean, like the first year we started doing a podcast, and Jim Eister, for those that don't know who I'm talking about, is a very, very, very well-known gunsmith. Him and his father have been in the trap, skeet, sporting world forever, it seems like. And they're very good gunsmiths. The one thing that he told me is quit using gun scrubber or stuff like that on your guns. You should clean with oil. He said, because the oil has almost like you have, cells in your skin, and your gun, the metal has pores in it, and the oil seeps into those pores. He said, when you use gun scrubber or anything like that to clean the gun, you're actually taking the oil out of those pores. And it's more, even though you're oiling it again, it's still more susceptible to corrosion. So he said, clean with oil. And I told him that I use Q-Max, and he actually liked that oil. But he did tell me, he said, just clean with oil. So,
it's funny that you say that, because in the bicycle industry, our chains from Shimano come with a grease impregnated inside of the links of the chain. And we actually recommend not to put them in solvent and clean them with a rag and re-oil them. And so it never loses the original grease. Because it, like you said, it takes off it out of the pores, and then you get metal to metal, and it actually wears it out quicker, and it causes rust a lot quicker.
Yes,
for sure.
All right, Sean Alley, are you moving Chad towards the hot seat? Are you, or what are you doing over there?
We're bumping up another level here. All right, this is from John Stevens, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase this a little bit. John says he's seen on many videos and heard a lot of people talking about coaches telling their students to listen for the trap and move on the sound of the trap. Is this simply for demonstration purposes, or do you feel people are actually encouraging shooters to hear the trap to get better connected to the target?
That's John was his name.
Yeah, John Stevens.
Okay, thanks, John, for the question. Actually, that's an interesting concept or a topic, I should say. Sorry. I use electronic ear protection. So do you guys, and I have used it to my advantage at times because when they hide traps within bushes or behind trees, that it takes a little bit of time for the target to become seen. You don't get your eyes and your brain don't get like scare jumped because all of a sudden it appears because you didn't hear it coming, didn't see it coming, and then all of a sudden boom. And it really doesn't matter on your hold points. Obviously that helps, but even with a correct hold point, if you didn't see it coming, it's like a jump scare, and to your eyes and to your gun, and your hands will follow your eyes. So if you jump with your eyes, you're going to jump with your gun. There is something to it, especially depending on what type of technique you use. Some are more of a vertical move to the target before you make your lateral move. Some require a lateral move before you make any movement to your face. Whether you're shooting more of a maintain style, which is a lateral move first, or a pull away or swing through where you're making a move behind or to, or maybe a little bit in front of the target, whatever it is. So yes, I think you will see and hear coaches talk about moving, but what they're trying to do is to get you to have soft hands. And what that means is we want to have soft hands. We want to have even if you're trying to make a fast shot, you want to have a slow move but fast shot, essentially. And how you have fast shot is getting in sync with that target with your eyes. You got to see the target first. And so if anybody can do this, if you just put your hands up to your side, look out forward, and tighten up your shoulders and move your head back and forth, your hands won't move. But if you totally relax your hands and go back and forth, your hands want to follow where you're looking. And with that being said, there is some lateral movement, almost like a merge, if you would say, depending on the move again, when you call pull based on what you hear. So yes, I would say that. Now, obviously, if you can see the trap, you're going to be moving on motion anyway, which is your eyes are seeing the target go, and then you're going to react to that in whatever way you shoot. So absolutely, there will be some moving. If you have a dead gun, and a lot of guys and girls, if they're shooting a lot of high gun style shooting, as we know, because I've had both of you, I know, Sean, you shoot high gun a lot. It's real easy to get beat by the target, because when you have the gun in your shoulder and you're locked in basically, and you're not loose, that target really can go right by you. And even if you try to move, it's a reactionary move to what the target's doing, which is putting you out of time or out of sync. And so, that's why Anthony, myself, and many people will come out of our guns and teach that, to give your hands a little bit of freedom to softly move or merge with whatever you're trying to do with the target. So, but yeah, I think that is not a bad thing at all, as long as you're not just moving just moving out there, just moving. And then now you're like, okay, I'm not even near the target because I moved too early and I'm 100 feet in front of it. So, and I do see that. And we've all had the new shooters done that, right? You say, okay, get in sync with it, and they call pull and they move their gun way out in front. And you're like, dude, you just shot, China, so
yeah,
because they weren't near the target. So there is that concept of timing, moving on motion, whether it's lateral or vertical, to get into that merge and that sync with that target. But first and foremost, you got to see it with your eyes. And if you can't see it with your eyes because of an obstacle, hearing it is the next best thing.
Yes, I will agree, because I was, I've said it 100 times on this podcast. I was nervous about going electronic ears because I'm somebody that gets distracted easily, a loud golf cart or whatever. But that was the one big advantage that I found is when you get a trap that's hidden, and you call pull and you could hear that trap go off, you're not as, how do I want to say this? I don't want to use the word startled, but you're not as like surprised at seeing the target if that makes sense.
It's like a scary movie. You know it's coming, but then it happens and you get jump scare, right? We call it jump scare, right? Like the movies nowadays, I think they call them. It's a jump scare movie. My kid came home and he's 22, and he's like, "Yeah, we went and saw a jump scare movie," and I was like, "What the heck is a jump scare movie?" And it's just a scary movie, that they saw, and it was a jump scare movie. So they it's coming. The music's showing you everything, but then boom, comes out of the corner.
It's like Jaws. And once you hear that dun 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 dun, something's coming,
but you don't know where, and then you jump, and that's the eyes and hands and everything getting out of sync. So absolutely.
Well, hey, interesting question. Thanks for sending that in, John.
Yeah,
that next
awesome.
floor, Sean.
All right. Primarily came from a pistol and rifle background. I'm trying to learn to shoot with both eyes open. Can you recommend any drills or training methods to learn to shoot with both eyes open?
Oh boy, you have fun with that one, Chad.
Well, I mean,
duct tape.
Look, there is a ton of different devices out there, I should say, or Band-Aids or whatever you want to call it, that can help you, that will shut down your non-dominant eye. Even if you do all that stuff, a lot of times we're looking over the barrel, right? Meaning that you're looking left or right over the barrel. And as much as this is probably a little cringeworthy, but I'll say it. I will have to say that doing like the 3-bullet drill that for a total beginner, Gil Ash came out with. They have a video on YouTube about it, and I thought it was like, okay, it's kind of kooky, but let me try it. And it gives you a visual, more of a visual aid of what it looks like when you have the gun pointing somewhere and you're looking somewhere else. And you get your eyes to get used to that. Ben Hustwaite had one that he used a golf ball, or not a golf ball, a tennis ball, in his garage. And he did it during lockdown. He had a video about just how you can train your eyes. As a matter of fact, I still think it's up on his subscription page. Using those type of things to get used to, because the whole thing of saying we shoot where we look, it doesn't make sense in a mechanical standpoint or an engineering standpoint, because of the fact if you shot where you were looking in true sense of the form of those words, you would miss behind every target you shot at. You have to shoot in front of a target while you're looking at the target, and whether it's a little bit of lead or a lot of lead. And so that is where you start slow and start shooting targets, even an incomer that has no lead that you can aim right at. You can close your eye and aim at it if you wanted to, and slowly change the angle going from that to quartering to crossing. Skeet fields are another place you can use that on, and where you can start seeing where you're looking and where you're shooting, and see what that looks like, what lead looks like coming from the left, or what lead looks like coming from the left or the right. I'm sorry. And then, I know our buddy Uncle Lenny, who's a left-eye dominant guy, right-handed shooter. He learned how to do it because he wanted to not shoot with his eye closed anymore. He learned to do it on a pattern board. He shot a bunch of rounds at a patterning board till he figured out what barrel to look at when he had both eyes open, because you always see two barrels. I don't care who you are. You may see it less than the next guy because of dominance issues, but I know every one of us on this phone, because I've taught and worked with both of you guys. We see two barrels. We see two fingers if you stick it up there and point at somebody. Right. If you stare at your finger, you'll see one, but if you stare at somebody in front of you, all of a sudden, boom, there's a ghost image. And when you have a 10-pound gun, and you're shooting a 30-yard target that's moving, you will see that barrel in front, behind it, or whatever, and you have to get used to it. So I think some of the drills that showed with that 3-bullet drill will give you an understanding of what it looks like. I think Ben has some great stuff that does that. If you are a semi-accomplished or have a skill of shooting shotguns of any type, where you're just trying to learn to shoot with both eyes open, I still will recommend daily, because I just went through this with one of my students, is that derail from what Ben made is absolutely a priceless tool that allows you to feel like a human being without having duct tape on your glasses or having a spot where you have to, when you're watching or talking to somebody, they got their head up in there because they're looking underneath their glasses just to have a conversation with you. They can look like a normal person walking down the street with their vision outward, and nothing's impairing that. Yet there's this tool in the front of the gun that kind of gives you an understanding what to look at. And again, start with low lead targets and gradually move up, from going from an incomer to a crossing. And you can do that on the skeet field.
Let me add a question to this question.
Sure.
There is a lot of apps and a lot of websites out there where you can train your eyes. In other words, some of it, like the apps on your phone, are touchscreen. Yeah. Where you got to touch these dots that are lighting up certain colors and all this other kind of stuff. And it's, both eyes open, right?
Sure.
Funny story. I took it a step farther and I had it. I was on the not the app, but the website, and wife walks in the room and I've got the gun pointed at the computer because that's just Jason being Jason. Got to have the gun in your hand. And she walks in the room and sees me pointing a gun at the computer. She's like, no, I can fix it. So, but I'm an idiot. All right. But anyway,
laser.
Do you believe in those websites and apps for training your eyes?
Honestly, nowadays, you're going to get the old schoolers that are going to bash me for saying what I'm saying. And, there's only one way to do it, and that's millions of rounds downrange. And I 100% agree with those guys. You're going to get better if you just shoot a lot. But when you pay $160 a case of ammo, like we are out here in California, I don't think you are going to really want to go spend, shoot, 2,000 targets. That's going to cost a little bit of money. So there is that stuff nowadays that's getting better and better to be able to do a simulation of shooting in your house. Absolutely. Right. There's those big video game things that you can shoot clay targets, and you have to lead the target or it won't break. And you're using basically your gun or one that looks like a gun, and you're sticking something in front of you and work it. I learned put a garage down and putting I put on the little, I don't know, whatever the little hinges, I stuffed a golf ball in one, or not golf ball, a tennis ball, a yellow one on one side, a yellow one, 10 feet on the other side, and I put an orange one right in the middle. And I aimed at that orange one with a laser. And then I looked at the other one to the left while I'm pointing at the one on the right. And then I did the opposite. And you can see how your eyes are starting to understand looking over the barrel, so you can get used to that. And that's without pulling the trigger, and actually shooting at something. And, on the range, skeet field, or if you can move around an incomer, get an incomer that comes into 20 yards where you're just pulling the trigger right at and smoking it. And then move 10 yards to the left, and then move 10 more yards, and then move 10 more yards until you're full crossing. You're going to see a little bit, of lead, and you're going to have to be able to peripherally see your gun in front of that target while you're staring hard at the target. You're going to see that gap, and you're going to start to understand what it looks like. So,
right.
Your hands will go there. You just have to trust it. That's
so. Who was that from? Who was that from, Sean?
That was from, I don't think this is a real name, Jack Marius.
Oh,
well,
okay.
Jack, that was an awesome question because it is in depth, and I think all those things, anything that you can do. I have that laser video that we did with you guys that helps. You can point at things, and you can have both eyes. You can close your eye and point at something, and then open both eyes and see if you point at the same thing, and that's going to teach you, subconsciously which barrel to point, and you'll learn really quick. It's that simple.
anybody that wants to know what Chad's referring to, you can go to our YouTube channel and look up questions for the coaches that we did with Chad. And there's a video there demonstrating the flashlight drill and all kind of stuff you can do. So, yeah, definitely look that up.
Yeah,
hey,
that was a great
everyone.
video.
Yeah, for sure. Very informative. Very good video. Real quick, let's take a break and visit with our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, Jason and I really love bringing this podcast to you week after week, but it does take a lot of time and a lot of resources to make it happen. And without these very special people, we couldn't do it on a week-by-week basis. Hey, Toby Tomplay, help these guys remember who they need to support.
Yes, sir. They can support Fiocchi USA, Elite Shotguns, Vero Beach Clay Shooting Sports, Score Chaser, Odo Pro Technologies, Rhino Chokes, RE Ranger, Taconic Distillery, and Atlas Trap Company.
All right, we're back. And real quick, big congratulations to Atlas Traps. They are now going to be the trap supplier for Ben Avery out in Arizona. So congratulations to them. We are asking questions for the coaches with none other than RAD Chad Roberts. Sean, you got another one ready for us, sir?
Yeah, we've had a pretty good backlog, so I've been trying to get a lot of these cleared off, and everybody's busy traveling and shooting, and Chad had some time, was kind enough to come on the show, so I'm throwing these now. Chad, we got another, I think it's kind of another eye question here, but I think I can paraphrase this down a little bit to make it a little bit easier. I'm right eye dominant without a doubt, doing some training drills, and I've noticed I've started having problems with left crossers and quartering shots, but I'm very consistent with crossing or quartering targets traveling from right to left. I tend to watch the machine on my left side with both my eyes for the movement, but could my left eye stay focused harder as I start my movement to swing into the bird? I've been practicing both of these presentations and kind of realize I miss significantly more on the left side. Thanks, Al Keller.
Well, for one, Al, thank you for the information and of what you're going through and the question. Yeah, I think most people that are right-handed shooters will do a better job from the right, depending on the presentation, just because there's no left eye over there, right? So you don't have another eye over there involved. What I have found is on the left side, left to right, and that's what the question was, his left to rights are hard. I believe, some people will call it eye grab, meaning that the target will grab the left eye, basically, right? Like it's the first thing you see. It's by time you get, based on where your hold points are, your left eye will start the movement of the gun, and basically in layman's terms, you'll end up starting too early. And it's one of those things where you have to keep, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think you have to keep the nose over the left side of your gun. You don't want to be looking over the top of your gun with your nose, because when your nose is basically like saying your center vision. And anytime a target gets to your center vision, you're going to start the gun. And especially if you're with somebody that says relax, right? If you're really relaxed, if you're looking way off to the left and that target gets to your center vision, it's a natural movement for your body to want to start following your eyes, which is your hands. And you'll get disconnected with the target because there's no barrel there. So one of the things you can do is change your hold points, get in a little tighter to the left. So you can allow yourself, when the target gets to your center vision, I hope this makes sense, that your peripheral vision, or what we call our inside peripheral vision, which is pretty much from your eye sockets out, at about a 45-degree angle, about up to your top of your brim, your hat, or your forehead, and to the bottom of your glasses. As soon as the target gets into the center of that vision, we need to be able to see the barrel within that vision. And of course, this is more subconsciously than just looking at the barrel, but we want to be able to merge the two together. And if you have a delay in the merge, you will move in front of the target, and you're probably, in my opinion, shooting in front of the target without me even seeing you. And there's two things I would do. One is I would change your hold points tighter, Don't be afraid to let that target get all the way to the barrel before you make your move. You could also employ a different technique and maybe on some of those quartering targets, and depending on how much lead or time you have to get to the lead, which is real estate on your crossers, I would even maybe employ some form of swing through method. So you can allow the target to really go by your barrel. And so your eyes can really pick it up. Your right eye will be now the dominant one. Now you can see where you want to put your barrel and slide through the target and work it a little bit better. And not it. What I see mostly is a lot of people blow out in front of their left or rights if they're from a standard hold point perspective. So if that answers your question, I hope it does, because it's making sense in my head.
Well, see, that's my problem, Chad. Is a lot of my answers make sense in my head, but not to anybody else. So.
Right.
Well, and that's the challenging part of doing this, because honestly, I mean, a lot of people rely on videos on YouTube, or people have their own specialized videos, and it helps to see things visually. But when you're trying to talk it out, man, it really does. You have to put some thought into that on how you explain it.
What I found lately is, what I see with my students that do that, they tend to hold way too far out. With a right to left, they may get that little bit of jump scare where they don't see the target really as well as they do from the left to right, because they don't have that other eye involved. So that target kind of gets to the barrel without them really knowing that it did, kind of without trying, and it makes sense and it connects and they do really well. But when you have that other eye involved, it is real easy if you have I don't mean this like literally, but if you have a poor hold point or a hold point that is out too far, it can cause you, without some serious patience or gun control, not to move the gun until the target gets near it, so you can connect with it. And What I have found is if you move the hold point in and allow that target to get near the barrel and basically force it, and allow your eyes in this sequence to see the target, then see the barrel and target together, and then make your move. And that's the merge, and that's the sync. If you can't see that, if you're just seeing target and you don't know where your barrel is at because it's way out in front or whatever, of course you're going to have problems. If you only see the barrel, you're going to have problems because you don't know where the target's at. So your brain will mess with you based on what your eyes are seeing. So come in tighter, try letting it go by, and then just watch, feel that connection through the insertion from behind, and then go make your move. And you'll be amazed that you'll be amazed that your hands will follow your eyes. And when you lock onto that target, the gun will be where it needs to be. And you'll break the target and go, it broke, without really seeing the barrel that you're not supposed to. So
that makes sense. Yeah, Al, thanks for sending that question, and we appreciate it. Sean, let's do one more with Chad, and then I want to get to some other topics that we need to address.
All right, so this is the last one I have, and this one's, Chad, you're going to have to, he asked this to be answered by Ben or Anthony, so you're going to have to talk like Ben or Anthony with that kind of an accent, either one. You
Well, that's all right. I tell you what we'll do. We'll let Chad answer this, and then the next time we have Ben or Anthony on, we'll see if they answered any different.
Well, considering I've worked with both of them, if I blow this and they say it live, then I really didn't listen in my lessons with those guys, okay?
Oh, boy.
You're going to get a phone call.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, this is kind of lengthy. So let me try to get this off our plate here. So Bob Monio, I think is his name. Bob Monio writes in, I'm a 61-year-old shooter returning back to the competitive game after a 20-year break. When I'd left the game, I'd reached AA and just made master at the end of that year. My method was primarily move, mount, shoot per John Woolley and Jack Mitchell. I've shot a little bit during the intervening years, but mostly recreational purposes with friends. In the process, I've become more of a semi-pre-mount shooter. I'm working with lessons from a coach here in Minnesota on my mount so I can shoot FITASK. At my age, I've noticed the eye dominancy thing to be more prevalent, generating a flinch issue on crossing targets. My optometrist has confirmed cross-eye dominancy, which I've always had, but it's now catching up with me, which could explain the flinch on crossers. I did buy Ben's OD rail and have been trying that. However, learning to shoot tournament targets again seems to be a long uphill climb despite that. Can you comment on age expectations and what you've seen from people in their early 60s? What can they expect, and should I focus on only a few target shooting approaches, such as pre-mount, swing through, move, mount, shoot? I'm competitive by nature, but am looking for direction. Sorry, that was a big long one. I apologize. So I guess he's really wanting to see where an older person sits, Chad.
Yeah, that's fine. Can you repeat the very beginning of it? That what he said before? He said right before his doctor optometrist. What he said to him? Can you repeat?
He said, "I've shot a little bit during the intervening years, but mostly recreational purposes with friends. In the process, I've become more of a semi pre-mount shooter." Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah. And then what did he say after that?
And then he's trying to work on his mount so he can shoot FTASC.
Gotcha. So, wow,
he's getting a flinch. He's getting a flinch issue on crossing targets.
Yeah. Okay. So, in my opinion, and we'll see how this goes over with the boys. I personally think flinching it's more of something that is a visual deal, more so than if this guy has only been doing recreation. So I don't hear it in his background that he's been pounding, 1 in an 8, 1,300 shells for 30 years. So I will say that I can confidently say that it's probably has nothing to do with recoil. What it is sounds like is that his flinch is visual. Now there can be there's a stepping process in how I do things with my clients. And what was his name again?
Bob Monio.
Bob. Okay, Bob. So the steps that I would, if you're listening, hopefully you are, you're getting your answers, is write this stuff down. First and foremost, check your gun fit. I think if you have too low of a comb and you do not have the iris of your eye on top of that barrel, you could be covering up the target. And what I mean by that is you should have at least minimum, when you point at a target, if you were to swing through it from side to side, you would hit the 5 o'clock edge on an open face target of 5 to 7. And, you would just be right on that bottom edge of the target. So you can keep at least 3/4 of the target in your vision. So you never can take your eye off it. That is very important. If you look at a lot of the top shooters, they have a lot of ramp in their gun and they're pointing, so they can see the target really well. Some are extreme, some guys are shooting with an extreme, point of impact where they float targets and such. But to me, I want to be as close to that line as possible, but still see as much of the target as I can. So with that being said, I would say, number one, get your gun fit. Number two, your age. As long as a person has 2 eyeballs or even just 1 eyeball and they can move, I think that they can do very well. You might not burn down the world and, unless you have time and money and, there's that side of things, with a coach where you have to decide how much you want to spend, where can you go and how much you're going to do it. I use, Uncle Lenny a lot, Uncle Lenny's in his, I think he's 67 or 68 years old and, the dude pounds 1,000 targets a week. And the guy doesn't flinch. And you think he was as much as he shoots, but he doesn't. And, he was handicapped at one point, couldn't walk. So now he's walking and he can shoot. So what I found with some of my flinching, so with that being said, I don't think age matters. You do slow down, but so what? Slow down, shoot them later, let the gun do its job. You have the ammo that you have nowadays will get out there and reach stuff. Even if a 1250 shell bleeds off speed, you're still going over 400 miles an hour. And I don't think a target's ever going to go that fast. So you're still going to be able to hit anything you shoot at. As long as you can pick up the gun and you feel like you can point it, I think you'll be just fine. I do think that you should think about simplifying the game and splitting it up a little bit with how you approach it. And what I mean by that is if you're going to do some FTAS stuff, dedicate literally time with a good coach on how to move in the mount to the target and make it happen with FTAS, because it is a different move than a gun up style, sporting move, if you want to say it that way. So I would definitely work on that. So yeah, there's a very specific thing. And the other option is I would obviously, this is where I'm going to probably differ than Anthony or Ben. This kind of depends on you as a person. I'd have to interview you, but I would say I would simplify the game even more and cut out some of the different concepts of shooting. So I would probably, I'm going to probably get murdered by a few people out there, but I think all the concepts that are available, the main three ones are maintain, pull away, and swing through. I think they're taught very cookie cutter. I teach them a very specific way. I know Ben teaches them a very specific way, and I know Anthony teaches them a very specific way, and I've been taught by both of those gentlemen. So I broke it down a little bit more to make it easier for a beginner to a medium level shooter. But at the same time, it's all about growth in the game. You got to build a fundamental base. And so I think that some of the methods out there, although there are guys that shoot them well in this world, I think, to be able to shoot, free is a word I use, to be able to shoot free and feel like you can have the most success. I think you got to look at how the methods are broken down, and the swing through or pull away gives you the line, and depending on how you do it, some of them give you the speed, and none of them give you the lead. You gotta create that. I would say, the one coming from behind is the hardest to learn, to do it correctly. However, if done properly, I think it does release you to be able to eliminate a lot of the steps in the game, because all you have to worry about is, what the target's doing, where's the line, and where does it look big and clear, and let it rip and chase the lead down and get to it and let your eyes do the rest, and the hands will follow your eyes. I personally have done that particular style of teaching with somebody that flinches massively, because every time I would get them on using pull away or even some kind of the maintain style shots, because I was trying to teach them to let's just get the gun out in front and look at the target and pull the trigger, they would flinch massively. And if I got them on the target, they would flinch. And as they're pulling away, I don't know, I know what they're looking at, but they're looking at the wrong thing and they would flinch. I have employed them coming from behind the target. Obviously, there are going to be targets that are probably better off to do some other move too, but the percentage, it depends on where you shoot. Those percentages can be high or low, where you have to employ a spot shot or a catch move or, a pull away move or a maintain style move or whatever you want to say, or whatever you want to insert as far as a technique. But I think that I've employed that with a person that does flinch, and he shot just recently, actually. And he shot about 70 rounds with me up front, and I watched him flinch about every 6 shells. And this is no joke. And then it was crazy. I had him do this, a different way of coming from behind. And he shot 275 targets. He is 67 or 68 years old. And it's not Lenny, it's another guy. And he didn't flinch once those 275 rounds. So I think that was a pretty good thing, because I was allowing him to let the target go by the barrel, let him see the target really well, so he knew what it was going to do, and then go chase it down. And that sounded really basic what I had him doing, but that's essentially what I was having him do. And it was absolutely amazing watching the transformation. He was hitting targets harder because he was always on the line. He didn't flinch, which was a huge thing for him, because he didn't miss the target because of flinching. And he just went for it. So that would be one thing. So backing up to the list, checking in on some different methods, simplifying that part of the game. And then, if you have the derail, that's great, especially if you have some dominancy issues. And then, practice your mounts. Again, I go back to my video that I did with the laser on the wall. I have in that video, I talk about mounting the gun and how to mount it, and using the corners of your house to learn how to mount. And that will help you for the FTAS side. So, and then, be diligent with the Anthony stuff, and be diligent with the, watching what Ben does, and, get with those guys. If those are people that you've used before, or contact me, and we'll get you squared away. But that's what I would do. How's that?
Awesome.
One?
I like it.
That was a heck of an answer, Chad. You did well.
Okay.
Well, and it's one thing I'll throw in there, and trust me, I'm not the expert here, but the one thing I'll throw in there, and Chad will back me up on this because he's harped on it with me. Just because somebody gave you the answer to your problem doesn't mean you can do it, right? Like Ant, and credit to Ant, like he says in his book, you can develop knowledge by watching a video, or, listening to your coach, or reading a book, but you only develop skill when you can go out and practice and perform that. So,
correct.
Chad's giving you guys some good answers here, but you got to go out and work on it. So get out there, go shooting. Speaking of getting out there and going shooting, Chad, we're leading up here. We're going to be pretty close to nationals within about a month when this comes out. What are you doing, or what? Let me change this up. What do you recommend for somebody that's going to nationals, whether they're first time attendee or maybe this is their second year? What do you recommend for training to help them? I mean, it's a long week, a lot of shooting. What do you recommend leading up to, kind of like a warm up, if you will?
Yeah. This is a perfect time to start. It's a little close, but I usually start about 8 weeks out. I don't take a huge break, just because I live in California. I'm shooting all year long, so that maybe that's a detriment to me or whatever. I don't know. I just love to shoot. So, have everything in plan your trip, get that settled ASAP. So you know where you're going, you know where you're staying, you know what car you're driving, you get your ammo and all that stuff worked out so you can actually go in and enjoy the shoot. I highly recommend, unless of course your jobs or whatever don't allow you, is to spend the whole week there. Fly in on Monday, or unless you're going to shoot the weekend before, but at least try to fly in. If you're just going to stay there for the big side of the event, which is the 4-day part of the shoot and all the nightly stuff, fly in Monday or Tuesday, spread out your shooting. So you're not just shooting 300-400 targets a day. Shoot 150 targets a day max, and enjoy the shoot, especially with those pro squads. Go out there and watch these guys and do all that. That's what I do for the shoot. Now, leading up to the shoot, for shooting wise, the national championships, I've been to a lot of them, and it's a pretty cookie cutter process because they're running so many people through it. So unlike the US Open, unlike a regional, the targets tend to be not as crazy hard as you'll see at some of these other events. With that being said, they add one different factor in that shoot. Instead of like the US Open where it's a 3-day cumulative target score, it's a 4-day cumulative target score. So you have to be good or consistent for 4 days, not 3 and not 2, but for 4. So for some, depending on the class, you can have a blowout day and still recover and do well because you have 3 other days to fix yourself. So it's a grind. You're going to shoot 75 targets a day. What I will say about training is I would probably at least shoot 1 or 2 times a week. You don't have to shoot a lot, but if you can do it, whatever, it's on you. But I would really work any target that you think, spend a certain amount of time working on any target that you have trouble with. Hopefully your club can throw what your nemesis targets or whatever. Spend the time, whether it's 1 or 2 sessions a week, just a portion of time on that or those targets, on that one target or the 4 that bother you. And then if you have been to the Nationals before, sit down for 10 minutes and think in your head, what targets kick your butt at the shoot, and Anthony does it. I do it. We all do it. We're like, man, that tower shot on, yellow course 2 years ago and on station 10 killed Anthony or whatever. He's not going to lose a tower shot anymore, because he's going to go home and train. So, incomers for me, it's, those crow shots that are coming in and dropping at 45 and don't have any speed to them. It's really easy to blow out in front of them. I would work on those targets, and, you don't have to do it a lot, but put it within your sessions. The other sessions, probably for at least 2 to 3 weeks of the 6 to 8 weeks leading up to the shoot, I would be shooting everything you can under 35 yards and learn not to miss them, because they throw a lot of that there. They're going to have some big targets, for sure. They're pretty cookie cutter of not throwing it relentless through the whole course. They will on the green course because we know that's the end day we know that's going to be the hard course, and they have the most amount of real estate to throw some bigger stuff there. But sometimes they'll, it might be 3 stations that are crazy hard, right? Even if they're hard all the way across, just if you've been there before, kind of think about that and try to go train on some of those shots. Make sure you can get everything you can under 35 yards, and then add in a day or two of what or a week or 2 of what you think they'll throw as hard targets. If you have extra time, put it together with some of your friends that are maybe going to the Nationals and score just like you would at the tournament. Shoot 75, targets per score, and do it with your buddies, 3 or 4 guys on a squad, and go through the course, So, and, it's pretty simple. You're not going to, they have either, you guys can help me here. They'll have a 4-pair station. They'll have a 3-pair station. Sometimes they'll have a 2-pair with a single, so you're going to have some odd numbers of targets. So, shoot it like that, shoot and prepare yourself like that. That's the one option. And then, put the gun away for a week, get ready to go, clean everything up, and go have fun. The other option is just wing it and get there and have fun and shoot targets with the knowledge in your brain that you're just going there to have fun and take it in as a sponge and enjoy it. And hopefully we don't get bad weather. That's the other way of doing it. But, for guys like me and Anthony and anybody that's going that is trying to shoot, good numbers and, do good on, at that event, we're very specific with our training. Some guys aren't, and they do very good, but they've also been shooting for a million years. So, but yeah, I think, train it up, man. I'm on the skeet field once a week. I'm on the trap field once a week. I'm out on the course, shooting pairs. just repeatable pairs. I'm not shooting anything crazy hard, so I can just get that down, that groove in the move of just hitting targets and watching them break. And, and I'll probably add in some for score type of days. But that's it. I mean, I keep it pretty simple. I mean, you don't want to get too complicated, because then some people like, I'm going to train this method this day and this method that day and this method. You do that, and good luck trying to make a decision when you're just before you jump in the cage. You'd be like, I don't know what to do on that target. So,
right.
Because I train them all, what do I do? And I just, whatever you're good at, whatever your base that you're good at, do it, and do it well, unless that target dictates something else, and then only change then, and just go with it, man. Get after it.
Gotcha. All right, Chad, I got one more question for you here. This is more of an etiquette question. So, there's a lot of first-time people that go to the Nationals. And let's be honest, the Nationals, you probably have a higher chance of running into, the more famous professional high-level shooters than any other shoot. I mean, there's several other ones you can meet people at, US Open, Jack Links, that kind of stuff. But, we get asked all the time from people that are new to the sport, or they haven't been to any big events. They see somebody that they've seen on the cover of the magazine. They want to go up and talk to them. Can you give us just some guidelines of etiquette on how to approach, an Anthony,
well, if it's
a Chad
me,
Roberts?
If it's me and I'm not shooting, literally when I'm not shooting in the cage, if it's outside the cage, between cages, I don't care. I love talking to people. As you guys know, I love to open my mouth and spew stuff. So, most of us will be hanging out at our sponsors' booths. So we'll either, for myself, I'll be at Atlas, Fiocchi, or Blaser, or anybody that I'm sponsored by, I'll be hanging out those booths. So no, I encourage you guys out there in Shooterland to come say hi to us and talk to us and ask us questions, because especially if it's, if it's questions that we can help you with in person, yes. Do any of us do lessons at the shoot? No. So I wouldn't be asking for lessons there. I know for a fact there are some coaches that do lessons at the shoot, because it's somebody that they have a really good client, and they're going out on the course, warming them up, or, doing a lesson towards the end of the day out on the practice courses. Totally get that. But for the most part, I wouldn't be asking for a lesson. If we're in one of the booths and we're actually talking to other people, just, wait patiently for us so we can talk to you. But no, I think for the most of us, if you see us having a bad day, maybe wait till we cool down a little bit before you talk to us, just so we don't do something stupid and say something that, we would regret. But with even that said, 99.9% of us, even if we're having a bad day and shoot like crap, or, something happens, we're going to come out of the cage and somebody's going to say something to us. We're like, what's up, dude? So I love new shooters. I love new people that come to the Nationals. I always get squatted with some, and it's just so much fun. And it's funny. It's funny that you say this question that you're talking about, because I shot with some new people last year and one of the events, and they didn't talk to us for 4 or 5 cages. And I was like, finally I was like, hey, you guys, this is fun. We can talk to each other. And they're like, oh, we didn't want to bother you. We're just holding off. It was a husband and a wife. And I'm like, no, man, who are you guys? Where are you from? What do you do? And we had such a blast towards, for the rest of the round. So people get super intimidated. We're pretty good if we don't want to talk to somebody of not making ourselves available. And honestly, that's what you'll get from some guys, that they're there for a purpose of, doing their job, that you won't see them sticking around. They don't want to talk to you. They make themselves not present very quickly and easily. So we know how to handle it. And so I wouldn't get too wrapped up on that. Say hi to us. It's not, we're not that cool. We're not that cool.
Yeah. Some think they're cooler than others, but that's okay.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I know Sean and I have had, and we're not the stardom that you guys are, but we've had some people come up to us, and our biggest thing's always been, of course, yeah, we want to talk to you, but just, let us finish shooting first, I guess is the is the big
shooting,
thing.
if we're going somewhere and everybody, you get to, and I know I've been with you, Jason, where it's happened. It's like, hey guys, I want to talk to you. And then you start driving away, and the next person, then you drive a little farther, and it's the next person like, dude, we got to get out to the 5 stand.
Yeah, right.
Like, we got to go. And then it does look like we're kind of not social because we're just ripping out there, and, people are trying to talk to us, and we're like, we got to go. It's not in any, it's not anything against you guys out there. It's just that usually it's because we got to get somewhere. And that's why I say, get out there early in the week, because that's we're all there, so you'll see us walking around, hanging out, come talk to us and ask us whatever you want to ask us. If you think I'm retarded and dumb and have bad hair, come tell me, I don't care.
Well, the reason I asked that question, Chad, is, this sport to me is one of the cooler sports in the world, where you can actually go out there and rub shoulders with, the pros and the high level shooters. And yeah, they'll talk to you. There's a few of them that are a little standoffish, and they're kind of known for that. But for the most part, most of you guys are very approachable. And like you said, always happy to talk to the new shooters and answer questions. Yeah,
I think going forward, and this will be an experience for me, because I did make it onto a super squad this year. I actually, I auctioned. I played the auction. I figured, why not? It's no different than spending money on a good lesson with somebody. And I got on a squad. And this will be, for me, it's a great experience, and hopefully it'll elevate my game. Nothing against the people I shoot with, and I'm going to be with them for the rest of the week. But I've been wanting to do it. I didn't have the ability to get onto it on my own merit this year, because I pulled out of a bunch of regionals that would give me the, at least a chance at it. So hopefully I can finish in the top 15 so I can stay there, without having to do an auction. But I think it was absolutely worth it. So that part will be different. And what I will say, etiquette wise, is nobody, as far as I understand, I don't see a lot of people will be following around the pro squads on the first 3 days. It will be that last day, because it's the last rotation, and that green field will fill up with a bazillion people like it did last year. And I think that's where you just have to be careful and just watch us, because we might be really in the zone, and we could have a good round going, or we're trying to just grind through a bad round, and talking to us and asking questions may not. Now, for me, I don't care. I'm going to tell you this right now. I've been on the biggest stage for BMX, and I've, done it all. I love talking to people, so I'm probably the guy that will get in trouble from the rest of my squad for being the talking to standard people.
I can see that, and I can see that.
For not being the super pro. I will do my best, but yeah, I think that's the one where, and look, we've done it for 2 years, and I've been out there watching. You guys have been videotaping and stuff. People have been really, really good at that. So I think it's great. So I think we'll be okay. But that would be the only thing I could see where it can get a little tricky, maybe. But other than that, no, we're here to have fun.
Well, that's the other thing too. There's going to be cameras and stuff out there on Sunday, so we need to be mindful of that kind of stuff. But hey, listen, they encourage it though. They want people out there watching. They want people, seeing what's going on. So,
I can't wait. It's going to be just awesome. So,
well, Chad, this has been awesome. Sean, we have really burned up the timer here. The clock on the wall is telling us we got to get going, but we're talking about nationals and all this, but on a smaller scale, Sean, even going back to our weekly message and our monthly challenge, what do we tell our people every week?
Well, take somebody new shooting, get them out there at the range, introduce them to this sport, put a gun in their hand. If they don't have one, loan them one, rent them one. Just give them an opportunity to go out there and maybe shoot at some targets. And if they do connect on one, that's usually when you're going to see one of the best smiles that you ever see in your life. And it's true. I know we all can attest to that. Jason, Chad, we've had people out that have never shot the game before. And if you go out there and eventually they break their first target, you can just see a glow. I mean, am I right?
Yeah.
And that's the fun of it, and then from there on out, that they're on their own slippery slope and they can do what they want. But yeah, just get them out there. Just introduce it. Take somebody along, take a kid, take a parent, take parent with the kid. I mean, whatever you want to do, and just get a gun in their hand, have fun, and let the magic happen.
Absolutely. Well, Chad, we appreciate you coming on, buddy. It's been a hot minute since we had you on. I know we did some Scoops episodes with you, which we're planning a special one after Nationals, so I'm hoping everybody will tune in for that one. But Chad, it's been awesome, been real. Look forward to seeing you at Nationals. Then, heck, it's not going to be too long after that. We're going to get to see you back down at the Dead Pair Blast, and I hope everybody that's listening's signing up for that. Guys. So, yeah.
I wait to see you in a few weeks, so that'll be awesome. It'll be a good time.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, Sean Alley, this has been awesome, buddy. Until next week, my friend.
We'll see you all back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.
We'll see you next time on the Dead Pair Podcast.
The Dead Pair. The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Elite Shotguns and Vero Beach Clay Shooting Sports and is fueled by Fiocchi USA. The Dead Pair theme song was written, arranged, and produced by Toby Tomplay. Big thanks to the following sponsors: RE Ranger, Odo Pro Technologies, Rhino Chokes, Score Chaser, Taconic Distillery, and Atlas Trap Company.